Let me say your last name. Nah.
However you want to do it, bro.
All right.
I just work it.
All right. Rolling in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hi everyone. I just want to introduce myself if you haven't met me before. I'm Walter Jason McLeod. This is my brother, Jermal Holmes. Me and him are actually half brothers because we have the same father but not the same mother. But we have a close connection and we get the opportunity to talk. It always turns into a deeper conversation. I thought that this particular time would be important for you to hear this conversation out loud because I think it'll help myself grow, maybe he'll grow a bit. But I think it's a lot of people out there who need to hear this type of conversation and be vulnerable enough to start having the conversations with themselves and their friends and their brothers and sisters and fathers, mothers. So that being said, let's go into why the conversation started. So a little while ago, if you've been following me on my Facebook or Instagram, I asked a question to everyone. The question was, is there something that you should let go of? My wife was in that video with me. It was a pretty good video, a great time talking with her. She said to me with her face that there's probably something I need to let go of. I said, I don't need to let go of anything. But my brother here agreed with her.
Absolutely.
And now we're here to understand why. He lives in Virginia, so we hadn't had the chance to talk, but he's up here. Literally came up here just for this conversation. No, I'm just joking. Came here to take care of his mama. All right. So tell me, why is it that you feel like I have some things to let go of? I'm very curious.
Well, over the years, watching you, having conversations with you, and just sitting back watching, it shows me that you and Dad, your relationship is a little rocky. I don't know the reason for it, based off of what you said from over the years. The fact that he wasn't around as often as you felt he needed to be. Mm-hmm. Throughout life, my life, he was around. I feel that he was being the best father he knew how to be. And I didn't hold any grudges towards him because of it. But from my view, looking at you, it seems like you're holding like some type of grudge towards Pops because of him not being around or lack thereof. In my opinion, he was around you more than he was around any of us. We have other siblings, and he engaged in your sports. From my understanding, he paid for schooling. I didn't get that type of stuff from him. I see him maybe once or twice a year, but when I did see him, it was like looking at a superhero, regardless of his shortcomings. He's still my father, and I just felt that I needed to bring that to your attention about how you are towards it, how you're dealing with the situation with Pops. I did notice recently that y'all was communicating over the past year, so obviously you noticed it as well, and you're doing something to fix that. But at the time that the other video came out, I wasn't aware of that. So.
No, that's cool. I would definitely say that I definitely didn't look at Dad as a superhero. Let me rephrase that. At the time, beyond, I guess, the age of 16, 17, I didn't see him as a superhero. Before that, it was in my life for a decent amount of time. And I never kind of looked at the ratio relative to how he was in your life and how he was in our brother Shannon's life, our sisters. I didn't think about relative to what he was doing for y'all, what he was doing for me, how in hindsight 2020, it was actually probably a big step in his development as a father.
Absolutely. I would think so.
Even though we have been communicating more, I haven't seen him in that light. I haven't seen that much improvement. Like, I saw it as he wasn't there during the times that I needed him the most. When he was around, he made some decisions that I think was based on his his lack of knowledge of me. He made decisions that were kind of selfish, I think, relative to what he wanted, with regards to my mom.
Okay.
So I never really saw him as that superhero. In my profession as a personal trainer, and even as a coach and someone who wants to motivate the world, I sometimes struggle to see progress if it's not exponential or if it's not something I necessarily see as big. But hearing you say this, it actually was a big step, I guess the way he was in my life. But I didn't know that at that time. I only knew what I knew as a teenager starving for guidance, as a adolescent that just wanted someone who could relate to him. Because being raised by just a mom, you don't really have, someone that can relate to you. My brother was, he had moved out to, eventually to Hawaii through his path through the Navy, and he wasn't there. My grandfather died when I was 13, so that role model wasn't there, so it was really just my mom and I.
Right.
And Dad was sprinkled in, into the
Yeah,
conversation.
he was definitely sprinkled in my life as well.
Yeah.
But I didn't hold it against him. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm being the best father I can be. I'm sure I have some shortcomings, but I wouldn't want my children to hold that against me and love me for who I am, because I don't have all the answers. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to defend Dad for anything. I'm just letting you know that regardless, you being a parent yourself, you're being the best father you can be. But I'm sure in your children's eyes, probably not now because they're so small, but when they get a little older, they're gonna start noticing things that could have been different or that they wanted from you throughout their life. But like I said, you're doing the best you can. So there's no reason for them to hold anything against you. And you shouldn't hold anything against Dad because of it.
So there's a
I just have a question. My apologies.
So one thing, you talked about how you saw Dad as a superhero. I never really saw that. My grandfather was pretty dedicated, from what I saw.
Right.
Always there, very consistent. I knew how to count on him because I knew what to expect.
Right.
With Dad, it was so random. Like,
yeah,
it was so random, so I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, and to be honest, I didn't know if he was coming around for me, if he was coming around for my mom. Some days it would seem like he was just coming around for my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Some days it would seem like he was coming around for me.
Right.
But neither one of those situations I knew when I would get it. So for a while I was just trying to enjoy it, but then after a while, it was like I was resenting it because I didn't know what I was going to be able to get out of him. I didn't know what I was going to be able to count on, and so forth.
Well, let me see. For me, in my opinion, as far as Dad coming around for you or your mom, it's probably pretty good, accurate. He probably was there sometime for your mom, sometimes he probably was there for you, regardless. But for me, when he came around, it was like, I just lit up inside. Of course, he's a big man. Everybody in the neighborhood feared him. Not so much feared him, but like
Maybe respected
him.
revered.
You know what I'm saying? Revered. That's a good word. Revered him, and he come down the street and people run up to me telling me he coming. You know what I mean? So, like I said, he was a hero to me. We probably went to the movies, from what I remember, maybe one time. That was Rocky IV. You know what I'm saying?
You still remember that?
And I still remember that to this day. You know what I mean? He came and got me. We went to the park, and we had cookouts and stuff like that. Family functions every now and then, but I wanted him there often, more often than he was. But when he did come around, I was happy about just that much alone.
How did you get to that point though? Like, how did you, as a young man, understand this is the time I have him and just enjoy that? Like, how do you never get to a certain point where you feel like you just wanted more and you couldn't even like just accept the little bit of time you had with him?
Well, basically, I'm a person of you get what you get, and you don't have any expectations from people. So, you know, what I get from you, I get from you. I'm not gonna resent you or hold anything against you for it. That's what you were able to give me, then I'll take that. So, you know, when it came to Pops, you know, I can't blame him for, you know, not being with my mom still or coming around as often as I like for him to do. You know, I can't blame him for that. I mean, I guess he had more pertinent things to take care of. You know, I mean, if you ain't taking care of yourself, how you gonna take care of me at the same time? You know, it's like when you're on the airplane, you say put the mask on yourself first, then take care of your child. So you know, that's how I saw it.
But like, do you feel like he wasn't taking care of himself? Or once again, I don't understand how you could see that at 16 or see that at 12. How you can see that.
Well, when I was at 16, I went to go see him myself, you know. He didn't come around as often as I would like for him to, but when I got older enough to go see him myself, I would go see him myself.
You would just go to him?
Yeah, I just go to him, get on the bus, or if I'm in the area, I'm gonna stop by and catch up my Pops right quick.
When do you feel like you got to that space? Like, you said when you were 16 you did that. What about before? Like when you were 12, when you were 10?
I would have to wait for him.
And you were just okay with that?
Yeah.
It's interesting because just in general, it's difficult for me to have, I guess, patience in that way. I find that I want to get to the next step sooner than later. So at times I feel myself forcing the hand. But there's something to be said about you going to him because it's something that you wanted, so you kind of took control of it.
Absolutely.
I guess I didn't really feel like I had control of it. I felt out of control, and I felt like he was kind of almost toying with me. Like, I'm gonna be here, I'm not gonna be here. Dad, according to my mom, that's something deeper to get into.
Absolutely.
But Dad, at the time, I was about to go to prom. My senior year, I had to transfer to another school, so I was at a totally different school. And my senior year was really rough because my mom was in the hospital. A lot of it. So she has lupus, you know.
Yeah.
So in my senior year, I found that I was really lost, you know, in a new school. You know, I made friends, but it was really superficial. Like, I never really connected with anybody totally. It was just superficial. Like, everybody knew who I was,
Right.
but nobody really knew who I was. Like, they didn't really know what I was going through. I didn't really understand what I was going through. I just knew what the events surrounding that year looked like. So it came back to my life, and then it was time for prom. I had an invitation to 3 proms. My dad said to me, according to my mom comes up to me one day and says, your dad said you don't deserve to go to your proms because your grades were slipping, or any prom. And there was even situations where the girl was going to buy the suit, and all I had to do was just show up. And I found that I'm like, Dad, how do you just come into my life and do that? Like, you wasn't there this whole time when my mom was in the hospital, and I needed a parent.
Right.
Like, I needed a parent. My aunt was trying to be there, whatever. I had nobody coming to support me in my football games. I had cousins, but nobody that was seeing me all the time. And at that time, football was very, very important to me.
Right.
He came prior when I was at the previous school, but it was like when I was in a space where I could either go here or go here when it comes to the sport in school, he was a ghost.
Right.
So it's like, at that point, I think that's when I was just like, yo, I can't even rely on anything with him. And I kind of like turned off at that point.
Pause for a second.
So yeah, I expected consistency. I saw that in my grandfather, so he was a father. So I expected consistency. You know, I expected him to be there for the things that my mom really couldn't understand. I expected him to tell me what sex was about.
Yeah.
I learned that from YouTube. Nah, it wasn't around back then. I learned that from
Porn.
porn. Porn,
I mean,
to be frank.
Majority.
Um,
You know?
my first
Majority.
my first time that I actually had sex, my mom found a condom in my in the trash can, and she was pissed that she found a condom in the trash can. And I'm like, you mad at me for finding the condom in the trash can? You never talked to me about sex. At least I'm doing it safely.
Correct.
So, you know, stuff like that, you know, how to shave.
Yeah.
Like, you know, my wife would tell you, she watched me for a long time, cut myself a lot, just trying to shave my face.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I just never learned how. I kind of learned, you know, from randomness, from
Right.
experience. And it's little things. It's probably a number of different things that I can go on that I had expectations for that I didn't end up getting.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, I had expectations for Dad as well, but it just wasn't something I would hold against him. And it's evident because I make sure that my son, and I have other children as well, but I make sure that my son sees me every single day. I mean, we're in the same household, but you know, you say live vicariously through your children. You know, like I said, I make sure that I give him what I wanted from Dad. You know what I mean? I did want to see him every day. I did. But like I said, I didn't hold it against him. So what I do is, you know, what they call it, not so much a generational curse, but if you sit back and think about Dad and his father, he didn't even know his own father.
That's something
knew
I didn't
that.
even know
Yeah.
until you told me.
Yeah.
Which was years ago.
Dad's father is I think Puerto Rican man that wasn't in his life. You know what I'm saying? He had Nana. You don't even know Nana. Nana was probably passed before you was born, right?
I think
More
so.
than likely.
Yeah.
You know, strong woman, and you know, a little off like any other older person. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it was nobody else.
Oh, don't offend nobody.
I know. She's all right. You know, it was nobody else in his life. You know, that was a father figure. You know what I mean? And I'm not, you know, saying that that's all right. You know, his shortcomings. I'm not saying that's all right, but how could you hold it against him if you don't know him?
I mean, hindsight.
Let me just, yeah. Oh, wait.
You know,
Yeah, I was burping. Sorry.
Okay. Now go.
recently, I had an incident. So, based on the way I was raised, I have a very large disdain for bad fathers and cheaters. Those two things probably will piss me off the most, more than someone stealing from me, is someone doing those type of things. I pretty much cut off connection to people like that. So there's a gentleman that I had an incident with, in which, in my work environment, a few years back, he told me he had cheated on his wife. And I told him flat out, hey, I'm not feeling that, bro. Like I can't really connect with you like that. And he gave me an explanation, but the explanation, it was very vague. It wasn't really too much to it. And I'm a believer in you figure it out. And then later on, I found out that he did it twice, well, multiple times, and both times his wife was pregnant. So he did it while she was pregnant. So I'm like, this is one of the most vulnerable times for your wife, and you betray her trust in that situation. Long story short, they end up divorcing. He marries the person he was cheating with within like 6 to 8 months, lives near them, and is trying to get his kids to call her mommy.
Oh.
So I've been avoiding this person completely because I know how much disdain I have for it. I knew it wasn't going to be a good conversation.
Right.
So I've been avoiding him, but I always kept my distance because that's a slick demeanor. That's a slick demeanor. I don't like that energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I avoided him, and then just so happens, one day I'm walking past, he gains eye contact with me and nods and says, hey, what's up? So I nod because I'm at my workplace, I gotta be respectful. He does it again, maybe 10 minutes later. Hey, what's up? I nod again, I'm with a client. So he does it one more time, and as I'm walking past, he puts his fist up for a dap. And I dap him and I keep trying to move. But then he goes, yo, long time no talk, what's up?
Mm-hmm.
I said, bruh, you don't really know what's up? I can't mess with you. He goes, what do you mean? What are you talking about? I'm like, bruh, you destroyed your family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you destroyed your family. What do you mean? Like, I already told you how I felt about this.
Right.
Then he throws back on me defending my wife by engaging with my father-in-law in an incident where I did not become violent until I was provoked.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I don't judge you for that. So he's saying he doesn't judge me for me defending my wife. So why are you judging me for me cheating on mine?
Well, he's right.
So I'm like, yo, what do you mean? That's two totally different things. I literally went to save what's going on in my family, and you chose to destroy what's going on in your family. It's totally different. So in that incident, because of my work environment, he chose to go to my management and try to get me in trouble. They understand the person I am, so they gave me a pass. But in that, they taught me some lessons, which is going to allow me to be able to inspire and hopefully help other people. I did a video.
Well, I think that the situation with your coworker, you're taking it personal. That's his life. He chooses to handle it the way he needs to handle it. You're handling your life the way you need to handle it with yours, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. So, like he said, he's not judging you. Why are you judging him? You might not like the fact of what he did with his family, but it still has nothing to do with you. So you shouldn't hold any grudge or any resentment or feel some kind of way about what that man does. You know what I mean? I mean, we're all not perfect. I mean, I can give you an example of if your own child did something that you didn't approve of, are you going to just dismiss him? Or are you going to sit there and be the person you need to be for your child at that time? You know what I mean? I mean, even with your coworker, you need to be the person you need to be for your coworker at that time. He might need to talk to you.
He was a member. He was a member.
Oh, he was a member. But regardless of how you know the man, you still might be the person they need to listen to him or hear him out or give him an example of, doing better towards the situation. That way, you are being the motivational speaker that you want to be. You know what I'm saying? And you're not being biased, because the motivational speakers know to be, they're not biased. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
interesting you say that.
Go ahead, say something.
I'm sorry, go.
It's interesting that you say that because that was the lesson that was learned. So I'm lucky to have like a lot of strong-minded people around me, and one of these people, Chris, he's always preaching service.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things I didn't agree with how he approached it because I to be frank, I told him I felt like he was soft. And yeah, Chris is somebody I probably shouldn't call soft, but anyway,
Right.
I did. And then, within hours after I got to talk to my wife, I had a revelation that I wasn't able to be the thing I'm gifted to be in that moment. Like you said, I wasn't able to inspire.
Right.
And I also did think about, what if I was the connect point that helps him do things in a different way?
And to cut you off, I mean, it was something that I don't want to get too detailed in it, but it was something around your wedding time and that you said to me that resonated with me to help me with my marriage.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And it sticks with me to this day. You know what I mean? I don't want to get too deep into my personal business, but you mentioned something to me and it stuck with me. How long y'all been married now? Maybe it's been like about, what, 7 years?
5 years.
5 years?
Now, yeah. Going
5
on
years
6.
now, and it stayed with me ever since.
That actually means a lot to me.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. You know.
You have to tell me that off script.
Definitely.
what
definitely.
it was.
Definitely.
Kind of let me know. Well, one thing I would say is I realized that because of the impact that my dad had on my life, it does two things. It gives me the fuel to be the best father I can possibly be, and
which is what it did for me.
To take chances on my kids in terms of, giving them the benefit of the doubt when it's necessary, or making sure they get the right education, making sure they're pushed at the right point, being patient, being available to them, sacrificing for them. It makes me want to do all those things.
Exactly.
But there's a stat kind of like that angel on one shoulder, devil on another shoulder type of situation. Because at the same time, it didn't allow me to be what I should have been to that gentleman.
Right.
I should have been an inspiration to him. I should have been a door for him to maybe walk into something different.
Right.
But even thinking about it even deeper, I have these expectations that I kind of want to get rid of, but I'm not sure if I should, because a lot of expectations I have are really good things, but then a lot of expectations I have are what I think is good.
Now, I'm going to say this, if it makes any sense to you. It's good to have expectations from anyone, but it's also good not to expect anything from anyone. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I'm learning. I'm understanding that. One of the things, my mantra is control your controllables and have enough grace to react to the things that you can't control in a positive manner.
Correct.
But because my expectations are so high for myself, I have these expectations for others. Sometimes I impose what I think is great on them when maybe their greatness is a little bit different, or it's very different.
It's not a maybe. It is different.
Yeah. So because of that, in that situation, and to be honest, I was pissed at myself to the point where I actually said to my manager, I'm going to apologize to this person. Which is actually something that 3 months ago I wouldn't have done. A month ago I might not have done. A week ago, but
you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot. Yeah.
The truth is, like, I find that I just want to be an inspiration, and I no longer want to let my.
Let me cut you off. You are an inspiration. It's just that you feel like you want to be an inspiration up here, where you're an inspiration halfway. You know what I'm saying? Just as an example. And there's people that need inspiration on a lower level. There's people that need inspiration on a higher level and in between.
Yeah.
So you're always an inspiration to somebody, bro. It's just that you putting it on yourself. I can't find the right word to make my point, but you're putting it all on yourself. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Your wife got me drinking that wine. Oh, sorry.
I know what you mean. My wife is in the background helping us to facilitate this. She's so good at it.
Yes, she did.
But anyway, I really do appreciate us talking. I know this conversation is now. So I want to know, what advice do we have for men who have basically been in our situation and their fathers now? They grew up in a situation with a father that maybe wasn't there as much as they want to, but now they're fathers, and they're good fathers, trying to be the best they can be.
Well, I mean, I would say, regardless of what you had or didn't have in your life from your father, to make sure you give that to your children, give a better life to your children. What I mean by better life, I mean be there for them, listen to them, spend time with them, spend money on them. You know, everybody always say it ain't all about money, but spend money on them. Society, you know, hey, it's all about money. You know, spend money on them, whatever. You know what I mean? And just look them in the eyes, tell them that you love them. You know, hug them. You know, I mean, every day, probably 4 or 5 times a day, me and my son, we give each other a third eye kiss on the forehead. You know, and it creates a friendship. It creates a friendship outside of you being a parent. Because my son can come to me and say, yo, Dad, you know, this, that, and the third. And, you know, he's comfortable. And I'm comfortable talking to him directly instead of having to sugarcoat it or, you know, make it sound politically correct. I can just talk to him like I'm talking to a regular person, because outside of me being a parent, and he understands that I'm being a parent, that he can come to me as a friend and trust in me to be able to talk to me, because I'm in his face 24/7, sending him a message like, how's your day going, son? You know, stuff like that. And like I said, I have other children as well, but I'm focusing mainly on my son, because, you know, it's a bond between a father and a son, regardless of, they say, you know, the bond between a daughter and father, and that son bond is awesome. Awesome.
I'm gonna go a little deeper within myself and say something that I may have not said yesterday. People keep telling me to take my filter off, and I'm about to try to do it. I always talk about paint the picture of what you truly want. Paint it in vivid detail. Make it as specific as possible. Make sure the lines are crisp. Do that in any way you can, whether you write it down or draw it, or you look into a mirror or into a camera and say it. In my biggest picture, I want my dad to be a dad to me. And one thing you told me, you said that even though he wasn't there, you wanted him in your life, and you wanted him to be something to you, and you had expectations, but you didn't hold him to the expectations you had. But you actually took action to allow him at least the opportunity to be something to you that you wanted. And I think I need to do the same. I try so hard to be what I should be for my kids. The truth is, I want my dad.
I know you do. I know you do.
I have expectations for him. I don't hold it to him anymore. But instead of trying to at least get closer to those expectations, I don't really even give him the opportunity to.
Right.
Because I feel like he should look for those opportunities. But the truth is, if I'm preaching that you can control your controllables, I gotta go to him and not expect him to come to me.
Correct. Right.
And the truth is, I just think I'm gonna learn more about who I am. I feel more whole. I'd be happier.
You would. I promise you that.
And the funny thing about it is, I think he's so far gone with doing the work to be the father that I want him to be, that I'm in his face all the time,
Right.
giving him opportunity after opportunity to be that. It'll make him happy. And I actually do want him to be happy.
Yeah.
I'm not actually sure, if I think about the type of person I am and the type of person he is, I know he's probably suffering not being able to be the things that we wanted him to be.
Right.
And it's something he thinks about. Whereas before, I didn't think it was something he thinks about.
Let me tell you, bro. I'm sorry to cut you off, but let me tell you. he's proud of you. He's proud of all of us. You know what I mean? When I come from out of town and I go visit him, you know, he got our pictures on. He got our pictures on the mantle. You know, he brings you up. You know, he brings up Artrice. He brings up Shannon. He brings up Vita. You know, we have a conversation about our siblings. You know, that we barely even see each other. You know, because we have our own lives. But I'm not holding that against you. You know, when I came through your door earlier today, you know, we was ecstatic to seeing each other because we ain't seen each other, and it felt like we just seen each other not too long ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It started all over again. That's real love. You get what I'm saying? That's real love. If it starts off right where it left off, that's real love. So, you know, for the fact of you trying, he waiting. Promise you that. He waiting. So.
Well, I guess I share some light for some people that may not know me that well. I'm so happy you were here to do it.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to be here.
This won't be the last conversation in which I probably cried during it, but the truth is much needed because us as a people, us as men, we got too much armor up, and the truth is we soft inside, and we need to build up the inside from the outside.
Absolutely.
To create internal armor.
Yes, sir.
So give yourself the opportunity to shed the armor and build up who you are. The only way you're going to be able to do it is if you take off the armor and be vulnerable. Thank you, bruh.
Thank you. Big love. Big love. That's what's up. Sorry for stepping on your kid.